Now it's time to welcome on set Florence Villeminot. It's going to take us through the French front pages. Morning to you, Flo. Of course, the main story we've had all week really is the Panama Papers, of course. That massive leak of documents that's been lifting the lid. Now the rich and famous have been hiding their wealth. Lots of outrage here.
Lots of outrage. Let's start with the communist paper L'Humanité, which, as you can imagine, is
not very happy.
Not very happy about what's happening after this leak. Let's take a look at the front page of L'Humanité today. They're talking about the Panama scandal that exposed the secret loot of the world's largest plundering. So they're not mincing their words today. The Panama Papers have brought to light the extent of tax avoidance and tax evasion, the hypocrisy of Western nations. And L'Humanité reminds readers that tax avoidance and tax evasion represents a lot of money, about $20 trillion. And this is money, of course, that governments can't use for public services.
Well, the Catholic paper is also agreeing with them that even if these tax havens are legal, they're playing a role in global fraud, aren't they?
That's right. Croix is very much against tax havens, perhaps on moral grounds, actually. And if we take a look at their front page, they're talking about how it's time to put an end to these tax havens once and for all. And you can see the word for tax haven in French is pretty cool. It's paradis fiscaux. It's essentially a fiscal paradise. And so Croix says it's time to put an end to these fiscal paradises, and it calls for a global fight. We must fight against this large-scale embezzlement and fraud, which, after all, is really at the expense of ordinary citizens.
Well, the Leftwing dailies also been calling for measures to take the fight to this tax avoidance.
That's right, and it actually talks about a tax fight that we're about to see. C'est la lutte fiscale, it's the fiscal fight. We must put an end to the loopholes that allow people to escape paying taxes and stash their cash. So what kind of solutions are there? Well, Libération says that advertising leaks like the Panama Papers, dragging these tax avoiders out of the shadows and into the light, that is something that is kind of dissuasive to other people as well. But you can see their editorial here, they're a little pessimistic. They say it's kind of a never-ending battle. If you chop the head off one tax haven, another one is going to sprout up like a mushroom just a couple of seconds later. You can see their editorial it likens this whole thing to the myth of Sisyphus, who was condemned to pushing this rock, this boulder, up a cliff for eternity to only see it roll back down again.
Well, other papers are slightly more hopeful that authorities are starting to win this battle against the tax havens.
That's right. Among them, L'Opinion, which is the pro-business paper here in France. Could this Panama paper leak be the fatal blow to tax fraudsters? That's what L'Opinion is wondering. And it reminds readers that actually there has been a lot of progress made, particularly since 2009. There's been a real global momentum against tax fraudsters. And L'Opinion applauds, for instance, the automatic exchange of information between tax authorities in different countries. This has had pretty good results, according to L'Opinion. And if we take a look at the front page, you can see this cartoon here. It's quite clever. You can see Vladimir Putin, who's been in the spotlight. Now, his name hasn't come up in the leak, but he's definitely been in the spotlight. You can see him going through tax security here, and the guy saying, yes, you do have to remove your hat, which is a Panama hat, of course, and it's stashed with cash, as you can see.
Well, his name hasn't, of course, appeared directly in the papers, but several of his close friends' names have.
That's right. And Le Figaro focuses on the Kremlin's response to all this. Very, very harsh words. You can see it's talking about a conspiracy orchestrated by the American Secret Service. Now, there has been a lack of Americans in the leak, but there are several American allies. For instance, the Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko. You can read more about him in L'Opinion. This leak has further weakened the Ukrainian president, who is already drawing criticism for his failure in fighting against corruption in Ukraine. So you can see he's one of the many names that have come up in the leak.
Yeah, lots of weakened leaders across the boards. We'll have to touch on that when you join us once again to go through the international papers. The story, of course, does have an international flavour. Thank you very much, Florence Villeminot, taking us through the front pages.